Hello, welcome here. Have you ever felt like you are caught in a loop, a recurring dream, or perhaps a nightmare, where you keep falling for the same type of person, even when you know deep down they're not good for you? It is a profound sense of deja vu in your romantic life, isn't it? You meet someone. There is an undeniable spark, a magnetic pull, and for a while it feels like everything is finally falling into place. But then the same arguments, the same disappointments, the same feelings of not being seen, or heard, or truly loved. And you are left wondering yet again, why me? Why do I always end up here? Why do I always choose the wrong person? If you've ever found yourself asking these questions, grappling with that unsettling pattern, then you've landed in the right place. Because today, we're not just going to scratch the surface of this phenomenon, we're going to dive deep beneath the conscious choices and the immediate attractions to uncover the hidden architecture of your heart. We're going to explore a powerful yet often overlooked truth, what you missed in childhood, what emotional needs went unmet in those formative years, you'll spend a lifetime unconsciously searching for. This isn't about blame, nor is it about dwelling in the past indefinitely. It is about understanding. It is about illumination. It is about recognizing the subtle, powerful forces that shape your romantic destiny, not so you can feel powerless, but so you can finally reclaim your power, break free from the cycle, and consciously choose a path toward genuine, fulfilling connection. So, settle in, open your mind. Our quest begins with a fundamental truth about human connection. We are, at our core, beings who seek attachment from the moment we draw our first breath. Our survival depends on the bonds we form with our primary caregivers. These early interactions lay down the very blueprints for how we understand love, safety, and our own worth in relationships. This is where the profound insights of attachment theory, pioneered by John Bowlby, and imagine your earliest relationships as the training ground for your adult heart. If as a child you experienced consistent love, reliable comfort, and a sense of secure base from which to explore the world, you likely developed what is known as a secure attachment style. This means you learned that love is safe, that you are worthy of it, and that others can be trusted to meet your needs. You learned that vulnerability is strength, not weakness. Individuals with a secure attachment style tend to navigate relationships with a quiet confidence. They are comfortable with intimacy, unafraid of interdependence, and can communicate their needs effectively. They trust their partners, and more importantly, they trust themselves. They understand that disagreements are part of any relationship, but they don't threaten the entire foundation. They are like a tree with deep, strong roots, able to weather storms without being uprooted, because they have a fundamental belief in their own resilience and the stability of their connections. However, for many of us, childhood wasn't always a garden of consistent nurture. Perhaps your caregivers were inconsistent in their responses, sometimes warm and attentive, other times distant or preoccupied. This can lead to picture a child constantly looking over their shoulder, unsure if their parent will be there to pick them up when they fall, or if they'll be left alone. This child grows into an adult who yearns for extreme closeness, often worries about their partner's love, and can become preoccupied with the relationship. You might find yourself constantly seeking reassurance, interpreting small gestures as signs of abandonment, or even it is like navigating a stormy sea in a small boat, constantly scanning the horizon for signs of trouble, even when the sun is shining. Your internal compass is always tuned to the possibility of loss, making it hard to relax into the present moment of connection. Then there is the avoidant attachment style. This often develops in response to caregivers who are consistently distant, dismissive, or even rejecting. A child in this environment learns that showing vulnerability is dangerous, that emotions are best suppressed, and that self-sufficiency is the ultimate form of safety. As an adult, this translates into a fierce independence, a discomfort with intimacy, and a tendency to pull away when relationships get too close or too emotional. You might be a master of deflection, using humor or intellectualizing. You value your freedom above all else, often at the expense of genuine connection, leaving partners feeling frustrated and unloved. It is like building an impenetrable fortress around your heart, believing that the only way to avoid pain is to never let anyone truly in. You might yearn for connection, but the fear of engulfment or rejection is always stronger, pushing you back to the safety of solitude. Finally, a smaller percentage of individuals develop a disorganized attachment style, often a result of frightening or unpredictable caregiving, think abuse, neglect, or parental substance abuse. This creates a terrifying dilemma for the child. The source of comfort is also the source of fear. As adults, this manifests as a profound internal conflict, a push-pull dynamic in relationships where you simultaneously crave intimacy and recoil from it. You might experience intense emotional swings, struggle with trust, and exhibit unpredictable behavior. It is a chaotic inner landscape, making stable, loving relationships incredibly challenging to form. These attachment styles are not rigid prisons, they are patterns, deeply ingrained but ultimately malleable. The key insight here is that when you repeatedly fall for the wrong person, you might actually be recreating an echo of your earliest attachment experiences. You might be unconsciously drawn to partners who reinforce the familiar, even if the familiar is painful or dysfunctional. An anxiously attached individual might be drawn to an avoidant partner, for example, recreating the chase for connection they experienced in childhood. Feeling that intense yearning for validation, an avoidant individual might find comfort in a partner who doesn't demand too much emotional intimacy, mirroring the emotional distance they grew up with. The magnetic pull isn't random, it is a whisper from your past, guiding you towards dynamic. But here is the crucial aha moment. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward breaking it. It is about bringing the unconscious into the light of conscious awareness. This isn't about blaming your parents. It is about understanding the script that was written for you and realizing you now have the power to revise it. Take a moment to reflect. What was your primary caregiver's consistent emotional availability like? Were they reliably there? Were their reactions unpredictable? How did you learn to cope with your emotional needs then? Did you learn to loudly demand attention, to quietly suppress your feelings, or to seek comfort confidently? These early strategies, once adaptive for a child, can become maladaptive in adult relationships, leading you down familiar yet unfulfilling paths. To truly apply this, begin by observing your own patterns. When you feel that, ask yourself, what does this person awaken in me? Is it a feeling of secure calm, or a familiar sense of anxiety, of needing to prove your worth, or of needing to escape? What are the themes in your past relationships? Do you find yourself consistently trying to fix someone, or constantly feeling misunderstood, or perpetually feeling smothered? Journaling can be an invaluable tool here, a quiet conversation with your own. Look for the threads that connect them. What role did you consistently play? What roles did your partners tend to adopt? This isn't about judgment. It is about discerning the recurring narrative. As we delve deeper, we uncover another powerful concept, the unfinished business of childhood. Beyond the general blueprint of attachment, specific unmet needs from your early life can act like magnets, pulling you towards individuals. Think of your inner child, that tender, vulnerable part of you that still carries the echoes of past experiences. If, as a child, you longed for unconditional acceptance, but often felt judged, you might find yourself repeatedly drawn to partners who are critical or emotionally unavailable, subconsciously hoping that this time you can finally earn their love and acceptance. You might become a tireless pleaser, constantly seeking external validation, believing that if you are good enough, perfect enough, then you will finally receive the love you crave. But the cruel irony is that the more you chase this external validation, the more you diminish your own internal sense of worth, perpetuating the very cycle you wish to break. Or perhaps you never felt truly seen or heard. Maybe your emotions were dismissed. As an adult, you might be drawn to charismatic but self-absorbed partners, individuals who command attention and dominate conversations, leaving you once again in the shadow, silently longing for someone to truly listen. You might find yourself constantly adapting, shape-shifting to fit their needs, losing touch with your own authentic voice, all in the desperate hope that one day they will finally turn their gaze. The desire to finally be seen, to be heard, to be understood, becomes an invisible quest, unconsciously directing your choices. Maybe you experienced a lack of consistent safety or stability. Perhaps there was chaos, unpredictability, or even neglect. As an adult, you might find yourself attracted to partners who bring drama, excitement, or even a degree of instability into your life. The quiet predictability of a healthy, stable relationship might feel boring or even threatening, triggering an unconscious alarm that something is too good to be true. You might sabotage stable connections, mistaking peace for stagnation, because your nervous system is wired for a different kind of intensity, a different kind of normal that mirrors your formative experiences. The challenge here is that these attractions are not purely rational. They bypass your logical mind and operate on a deeper emotional level. They feel like destiny, like an undeniable connection, precisely because they tap into these deeply ingrained, unresolved yearnings. Your psyche is, in essence, trying to complete a puzzle, to rewrite an old script, to heal an old wound by replaying it, hoping for a different ending. But without conscious awareness, you often find yourself stuck in the same act with the same unsatisfying conclusion. To apply this, you must become an archaeologist of your own heart. Dig into your past with compassion, not judgment. What were the specific emotional needs that went consistently unmet? Was it a need for affirmation, for consistent presence, for emotional safety, for freedom to express yourself, for belonging? Then consider your current attractions. What qualities do you find yourself consistently drawn to in potential partners? Do these qualities, in some subtle way, mirror the very things that were missing in your childhood? For example, if you longed for a strong guiding figure, do you find yourself attracted to domineering personalities? If you yearn for freedom from constraints, do you seek partners who are elusive in commitment? This isn't about condemning these traits, but about understanding the deeper psychological current that draws you to them. When you recognize this pattern, you can begin to make conscious choices. Instead of blindly following the magnetic pull of familiarity, you can pause and ask, is this person truly capable of meeting my needs in a healthy, reciprocal way, or am I projecting an old hope onto them? This brings us to the powerful concept of projection and idea. Instead, we often project onto them our own desires, our own ideals, our own unmet needs, and sometimes even aspects of ourselves that we've repressed or disowned. This is the phenomenon of idealization, where we put our partners on a pedestal, seeing them not as they truly are, but as the perfect embodiment of what we believe we need. Imagine looking at a blank screen and projecting a vivid movie onto it. You are so engrossed in. Similarly, in the initial stages of a relationship, fueled by biology and the intense longing for connection, we often project our hopes and dreams onto a new partner. We see in them the potential for unconditional love, the strength we lack, the understanding we crave, the adventurous spirit we wish we had. This projection creates an intoxicating illusion. You see them as the savior, the perfect. This isn't entirely bad. A certain degree of positive illusion is part of falling in love and bonding. It helps us overlook minor flaws and focus on connection. However, when projection dominates, we become blind to red flags. We dismiss warning signs as insignificant, rationalize concerning behaviors, and ignore our own intuition because we've invested so much of our hope and our unfinished business in this person. Their flaws become inconvenient truths that threaten our carefully constructed fantasy. For example, if you deeply yearn for a sense of belonging because you felt like an outsider in childhood, you might project an image of ultimate acceptance onto a new partner, ignoring their tendency to isolate you from your friends because you are so focused on the feeling of you as they. You might overlook their dismissiveness of your opinions because you are so invested in their perceived approval. The aha moment here is realizing that the intense, overwhelming feeling of connection in the early stages might not always be about the other person's actual qualities, but about how perfectly they align with your own unconscious projections and the narrative of your unresolved needs. When the initial high wears off, the qualities you projected onto them dissipate, revealing a human being with their own flaws and imperfections, who may not be able to fulfill the monumental expectations you unconsciously placed upon them. This is often when disillusionment, anger, and heartbreak set in, as the movie you were watching in your head no longer aligns with the reality unfolding before you. To navigate this, cultivate the art of conscious observation when you meet someone new. Instead of rushing to define the relationship or project your entire future onto them, practice active listening and empathetic observation. What are their actual behaviors, not just their words? How do they treat others, not just you? How do they handle conflict? What are their values? Seek to understand them as an independent, complex individual rather than a blank canvas for your desires. Ask yourself, am I attracted to qualities they genuinely possess, or qualities I wish they possessed, or qualities I wish I possessed in myself? This requires an active, mindful approach to dating and relationship building. It means allowing time for the true person to emerge, rather than superimposing your fantasy. It means becoming comfortable with the unknown, rather than rushing to fill the void with an ideal, and most importantly, it means turning that powerful projecting lens inward to understand your own desires and unmet needs, so you can consciously work towards fulfilling them yourself, rather than placing that impossible burden on another person. If you are finding these insights resonant, if a light bulb has flickered on for you, then please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue to explore these profound topics. Another critical piece of the puzzle, inextricably linked to all we've discussed, is your sense of self-worth and the boundaries you establish. The quality of your relationships is, in many ways, a direct reflection of how you value yourself. If your self-worth is fragile, if deep down you don't believe you are truly lovable or deserving of respect, you will unconsciously set your internal thermostat for what you believe you can attract. Imagine a person who believes they are only worthy of crumbs, even when a full feast is available. They will consistently seek out situations where they receive only crumbs because it aligns with their internal belief system. They might be drawn to partners who are emotionally unavailable, critical, or who prioritize everyone else's needs above their own, because this familiar dynamic reinforces their deeply held, often unconscious belief that they are not. Moment here is realizing that often the wrong person isn't inherently wrong in an absolute sense, but they are wrong for fei yu fei because they do not reflect or uphold the worth that you deserve, or, more accurately, they reveal where your own sense of self-worth is lacking, because you are allowing them to treat you in ways that disrespect your fundamental value. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define where you end. They communicate what is acceptable and unacceptable in your interactions. If you have weak or non-existent boundaries, you become a porous vessel, easily overwhelmed by the needs, emotions, and demands of others. You might find yourself constantly saying yes when you mean no, sacrificing your own time, energy, and well-being to please others, or tolerating behaviors that are clearly detrimental to you. This often stems from a fear of rejection or abandonment, the belief that if you set boundaries, if you assert your needs, you will lose the love or approval you desperately crave. This fear, again, is often rooted in childhood experiences where asserting your needs might have been met with dismissal, anger, or withdrawal. For instance, if your childhood environment taught you that to be loved, you must be compliant and never challenge authority. You might find yourself in adult relationships with partners who are controlling or demanding, unable to voice your own desires or stand up for yourself. You might feel a constant internal tension, a silent scream that goes unheard, because the learned pattern is to prioritize peace or perceived love over your own integrity. As an adult, you might struggle to establish emotional distance, constantly feeling enmeshed with your partner or allowing them to overstep your personal boundaries without protest. The consequence of weak boundaries is not only a loss of self, but also resentment, exhaustion, and ultimately a breakdown of respect in the relationship. Your partners, however well-intentioned, will treat you in the way you teach them to. And if you don't define your boundaries, they will unconsciously or sometimes consciously push against them. To apply this, the journey must begin with cultivating a robust sense of self-worth. This is not narcissism. It is a quiet, unwavering belief in your inherent value as a human being. It involves understanding that you are deserving of love, respect, and kindness simply because you exist. How do you build this? Through practices of self-compassion, self-care, and self-affirmation. Start by treating yourself as you would treat a cherished friend. Would you allow a friend to be treated poorly? Would you tell a friend they are unworthy of love? Of course not. Extend that same kindness and fierce protection to your. Set aside time for activities that nourish your soul, whatever they may be: creative pursuits, quiet reflection, physical activity. Challenge negative self-talk, replacing critical thoughts with compassionate ones. Acknowledge your strengths and celebrate your small victories. Simultaneously, embark on the courageous journey of establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries. This means identifying your limits physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. What are you willing to tolerate? What is non-negotiable? What do you need to feel safe and respected? Once you've identified these, practice communicating them clearly, calmly, and consistently. This will feel uncomfortable, especially at first. It might even trigger resistance or disappointment from others. But remember, a healthy boundary, it teaches others how to love you well. It might mean saying no to an invitation that drains you, or asking for space when you feel overwhelmed, or clearly stating your expectations for respect. It is an ongoing practice, a muscle that strengthens with use, but it is absolutely foundational to attracting and sustaining truly healthy, reciprocal relationships. We've explored the conscious and unconscious forces that shape our romantic lives, but there is an even deeper layer, a more mysterious pull that often directs us towards the wrong person, the intricate dance with our own shadow self. Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist, introduced the concept of the shadow as the unconscious aspects of the self that the conscious ego does not identify with. It contains everything we've suppressed, denied, or rejected about ourselves, our perceived flaws, our hidden desires, our instincts, our shame, and even our unrealized potentials. Imagine your personality as a well-lit room, and the shadow is everything you've pushed into the dark corners, or even outside the room entirely, because you deemed it unacceptable or undesirable. The paradox is they linger, often manifesting in unexpected ways, and critically they can play a powerful role in who we are attracted to. The aha moment here is realizing that we are often drawn to partners who embody aspects of our own shadow. We might find ourselves fascinated, even obsessed, with someone who boldly expresses traits we secretly wish we had but have suppressed within ourselves, perhaps their wildness, their assertive. This is known as a shadow projection we see in them, what we refuse to see or allow in ourselves. For example, if you were raised in an environment that strictly valued order, logic, and emotional control, you might have repressed your own spontaneous, emotional, or chaotic impulses. You might then find yourself irresistibly drawn to a partner who is impulsive, artistic, and emotionally expressive, someone who lives. Initially, this feels exhilarating, like they are bringing color into your monochrome world. They represent the freedom you long for. However, as the relationship progresses, these very qualities which initially captivated you might become sources of irritation or conflict. Their impulsiveness might feel irresponsible. Their emotional expressiveness might feel overwhelming. Their unconventional nature you begin to resent them for embodying what you still deny in yourself. Conversely, we can also be drawn to partners who embody traits we find deeply undesirable, often because these traits are projections of our own unacknowledged, darker aspects. Perhaps you pride yourself on being exceptionally kind and compassionate, always putting others first. You might then find yourself repeatedly attracted to partners. It is as if your unconscious is saying, "Look, this is what you are avoiding within yourself." While this can be a painful dynamic, it also presents a profound opportunity for growth. Our attractions to our shadow partners are like mirrors, reflecting back to us the parts of ourselves that are longing to be acknowledged, integrated, and healed. The journey of shadow integration isn't about becoming these shadow traits, but about acknowledging their existence within you, understanding their origins, and learning to channel their energy constructively. It is about recognizing that every human being contains the full spectrum of light and shadow, and true wholeness comes from embracing both. To apply this, begin by identifying what qualities in others consistently irritate, what traits do you absolutely adore, and what traits do you vehemently despise. These strong reactions are often clues to your own shadow. For example, if you despise arrogance, ask yourself, where might I be suppressing my own healthy assertiveness or confidence? If you are endlessly fascinated by someone's carefree spirit, ask, where am I holding myself back from being more spontaneous or joyful? Journal about these traits, exploring how they might exist in subtle ways within your own personality, or how you might have been conditioned to repress them. This requires immense courage and self-honesty, as it means confronting aspects of yourself that you've long deemed unacceptable. But it is precisely in this confrontation that healing and true self-acceptance begin. By integrating your shadow, by embracing the full spectrum of who you are, you reduce the need to project these qualities onto others. You become more whole, more authentic, and less susceptible to the unconscious pulls that lead you into unfulfilling relationships. You begin to attract partners who resonate with your integrated self, rather than merely reflecting your fragmented parts. This is a journey towards profound self-love, where you understand that your perceived imperfections are not weaknesses, but opportunities for deeper self-acceptance and growth. The cumulative wisdom of these insights, Fey understanding attachment styles, recognizing unmet childhood needs, seeing through projections, cultivating self-worth and boundaries, and integrating your shadow Fey brings us to the ultimate aha moment. You are not condemned to repeat the past. While the echoes of childhood might whisper in your ear, you as an adult have the conscious capacity to choose a different path. This isn't a simple task, like flipping a switch. It is a profound, lifelong journey of healing, self-discovery, and intentional action. The first step towards breaking the cycle is radical self-awareness. It is about bringing everything we've discussed. When you feel that familiar magnetic pull towards someone, pause. Instead of immediately diving in, ask yourself, is this attraction rooted in a healthy, reciprocal connection, or is it merely recreating a familiar pattern from my past? Am I seeing this person clearly, or am I projecting my hopes and unmet needs onto them? Does this person genuinely align with my values and bring out the best in me, or do they awaken old? It creates a space between stimulus and response, a space where conscious choice can finally emerge. It is like having a map of your internal landscape, allowing you to navigate with intentionality rather than blindly following old trails. Next, embark on a dedicated path of healing your inner wounds. This might involve therapy, which can provide a safe and guided space to explore your childhood experiences. A skilled therapist can help you identify your attachment style, understand your unmet needs, and guide you in integrating your shadow. It is like having a trusted guide on a difficult expedition, illuminating the hidden dangers and helping you forge a new path. It might also involve self-compassion practices, such as mindfulness meditation, journaling, or self-care rituals that actively soothe your inner child. And imagine actively reparenting yourself, giving yourself the unconditional love, validation, and security that you might have missed. This involves recognizing your own pain, acknowledging your struggles, and responding to yourself with kindness and understanding rather than self-criticism. It is about cultivating a deep reservoir of self-love that makes you less reliant on others to fill your emotional voids, and more capable of giving and receiving love from a place of abundance. Rather than scarcity, conscious dating and relationship building is another vital component. This means slowing down the dating process significantly. Instead of rushing into intense emotional connections, take the time to truly get to know someone. Observe their consistency, their character, their emotional availability, and their capacity for empathy. Pay attention to how they make you feel. Do you feel safe, respected, seen, and uplifted? Or do you feel anxious, confused, or constantly seeking their approval? This requires a radical shift in perspective, moving from a desperate search for the one who will complete you to a mindful journey. It means being comfortable with being alone, understanding that solitude is not loneliness, but an opportunity for self-discovery and growth. When you are truly comfortable in your own company, you are less likely to settle for relationships that diminish you. It also means setting clear, healthy boundaries from the outset. Communicate your needs and expectations respectfully and firmly. Observe how potential partners respond to your boundaries. Remember, you are worthy of a love that celebrates you, not one that requires you to shrink or constantly prove your worth. This journey of breaking the cycle is an act of profound self-love and self-empowerment. It is about realizing that you are the author of your own story, and you have the power to write a new, more fulfilling chapter. It's about understanding that the patterns of the past were not your fault, but the responsibility to heal and choose. You are not a passive recipient of fate. You are an active co-creator of your reality. Embrace the discomfort of change, for it is in stepping outside of your comfort zone that true growth and transformation occur. The path to finding the right person, the one who truly resonates with your authentic self, begins with becoming the right person for yourself. It begins with healing the inner child, integrating the shadow, building unshakable self-worth, and establishing clear, respectful boundaries. It is a journey of becoming so deeply rooted in who you are, so authentically you, that you naturally attract connections that reflect that same level of wholeness and respect. This might mean fewer, but far more meaningful connections. It might mean a period, but the reward is a life rich with genuine connection, built on a foundation of mutual respect, understanding, and authentic love. The search for what you missed in childhood doesn't have to be a lifelong burden. It can be a lifelong journey of self-discovery, leading you not to another person to complete you, but back to the complete and whole person you already are, waiting to be rediscovered. I hope today's sharing provides you. Thank you for watching. And remember, your journey of healing and growth is a testament to your incredible strength and resilience. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep growing. See you next time.